All right, we are now recording. So this is the KubeBuilder subproject meeting for November, what's today?
13th.
13th, thank you, thank you, Joe. I'm awake. November 13th. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, so don't say anything you don't want logged for all the internet to say in all perpetuity. All right, let me pull up the meeting notes and see if we have what we have on the agenda for today. All right. Also, as usual, I would appreciate if anybody wants to take notes. That would be awesome. Just feel free to add suggestions or whatever in the agenda doc. All right. So it looks like we have two things from Joe Lanford. So I will hand it right over to Joe.
So these are both questions. So the first question is about V1 CRDs, instructional schema. There's this issue currently in the KubeBuilder project that Eric created. There's been some discussion on. So I just wanted to see if there was any progress, if you guys need any help on things, if there's any other related issues that we could jump in and start helping on. This is something that's come up at Red Hat a couple times recently, so we're interested in contributing and helping figure out how to move to V1 CRDs or support both V1 Beta 1 and V1 simultaneously, or whatever we decide.
Yeah, so there's unfortunately like 3 V1 CRD issues, and I think I tried to connect them all, but I think a couple of them got slightly disconnected from each other. So we merged support for generating V1 CRDs in controller tools.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
And we have support for the various structural schema annotations. It just merged like last week-ish, I think. Basically, there's now an option in CRDGen where you can specify the versions of the CRD object itself that you would like to generate. So by default, it generates V1 Beta 1 for compatibility reasons, but you can say V1, or you can pass a list if you want to generate both into different files for various reasons. So that is now like, that's now there and available, and it will be in the traditional pre-KubeCon release. So I think most of the structural schema related markers have been merged thanks to some folks from your side. I think the only thing that is missing right now is some of the marker server-side apply, like list type markers, are still in an ongoing PR that needs to be merged. But I think other than that, all the V1 CRD features have actually been merged. As for, did webhooks go to stable as well?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So we haven't done webhooks. So webhooks would be appreciated. File tracking issue in controller tools if you want to help with those. But other than that, I think we're actually mostly good with CRD v1.
Awesome.
If anybody has any thoughts, by the way, on how to turn on V1 CRDs in KubeBuilder without breaking backwards compatibility, or like what the folder structure file structure should look like, so we could like generate V1 and V1 Beta 1 and then have like a customized patch to enable one or not the other or something like that, that would be appreciated. Just think about that, because it would be cool if we could generate both by default in KubeBuilder and then just allow users to pick or install the appropriate one or whatever.
Does Customize have any, this is a little off topic maybe, but does Customize have any logic where it can discover which cluster you're targeting and automatically choose the right thing?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it does. We like one option, depending on like what we wanted to do, just like off the top of my head, straw man, we could just let it be an option, like a patch or something. We could have a little shim, which we've traditionally so far not done, but we could have a little shim that was like, call discovery, see if V1's available. If so, choose the V1 one or something like that. But yeah, if anybody has any ideas, feel free to drop them into the issue linked in the notes, and we can move from there.
Okay. Anything else on that topic? Nothing from me. Okay, so my next question was, and maybe you kind of alluded to this about the pre-KubeCon release drop, but is there a plan for a 0.40 release that includes the Kubernetes 1.16? And do we want to include Go 1.13 bump in that as well?
I think we do want to include Go 1.13, and yes, I think we're going to do 0.4.0 before KubeCon lands. We have a number of significant features that have piled up that people have been asking about, and it's a good opportunity since we had a slight API break due to upstream Kubernetes. It's a good opportunity to switch over to Go 1.13 as well. Yeah, and upstream Kubernetes recently landed support for Go 1.13, so I think we're kind of in the clear on not causing people too much issue with dev environments in Go 1.13. So yeah, I think we'll go forward with that.
Okay.
This will also nicely open up the door for things like wrapped errors, which I am very excited about.
Yep. Okay, cool. So I've got a PR open for Go 1.13. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to look at that.
I may have. I can revisit it. I haven't done my code review for the week yet, so desperately trying to get some last slides finished. So
sure, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No rush from our side, other than we would like 1.16 soon. If there's anything we can do to help, again, as always.
Yep, will do. I will let you know.
And then lastly on this topic, I know last time we talked about incorporating this public API checking tool into the normal, CI or something like that. And I just want to let you guys know I haven't had a chance to dig into that at all yet. So that's still an ongoing thing.
All right. Do you think you'll have time soon, or no pressure? I just wanted to see, like, maybe if we could write up notes, we could also open it up to the community and be like, hey, here's what's left to do. If anybody feels like digging into the guts of the Go type checking semantics and just doing the last bits here, then feel free to pick it up.
Yep, I'll create an issue to capture the current state.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, that's all I had. Thanks, Ollie.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss?
Hi, my name is Raghu. I work for Catalogic Software in New Jersey. So I have a few questions if you guys are okay with me going ahead and asking.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just got into this operator development on Kubernetes maybe like a couple of months back. And then I just kind of looked at what is the best way to write an operator. And the first thing I started with is the SDK, the operator SDK. So I did a little bit, and then I found KubeBuilder. Then I switched to KubeBuilder for a few reasons. And the main one being the KubeBuilder documentation is fantastic. The book was very nice. I really liked it. and the webhook support, of course. And that's something that I wanted, the validation. So for those reasons, I switched to KubeBuilder. But I just discovered that there is a issue on GitHub that says these two are being integrated. So can you just elaborate what's going on that front? These two tools are going to be integrated into one, or what's the plan?
Yeah, so there's actually a full design document that kind of lays out what's going on in the KubeBuilder repo, but the TLDR, it's under the designs folder. The TLDR is that because Operator SDK and KubeBuilder already actually share a lot of code and tooling, Operator SDK is going to be relying on the KubeBuilder scaffolding for scaffolding out Go operators from Operator SDK. So you will basically end up using the same tooling and scaffolding for both tools, getting the same tooling and scaffolding out of both tools post-merge. And there's some things that are being upstreamed from Operator SDK back into the various KubeBuilder projects because there's some super awesome stuff there. And so there's tracking issues for some of that as well. Joe, do you have anything to add?
That pretty much covers it. Yeah, so I think the goal, like Sully said, the goal is like once we finish this integration, we'll scaffold the exact same project layout. Operator SDK and KubeBuilder should be generally compatible and interchangeable for Go projects. And then the SDK team will start developing and maintaining and contributing into the KubeBuilder projects a lot more, rather than having this separate Operator SDK Go libraries that are kind of a little bit more difficult to integrate if you're using KubeBuilder.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so if I understood correctly, if I'm writing in Go, then the KubeBuilder is okay to go ahead with, because eventually Operator SDK is also going to use the KubeBuilder stuff for the most part, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I have like a couple of more questions. And again, I think one of you referred to the error handling before. I didn't catch it completely. But I was kind of looking at how best to, deal with errors and kind of introduce a backoff between putting the request back on the queue and limiting the number of retries. And I found that there is an Operator SDK, there's a GitHub project to do that, like a utility function kind of thing, but that's for Operator SDK. So do you have any plans for like error handling, adding error handling to KubeBuilder?
I mean, KubeBuilder already supports back off automatically from errors.
Oh, it does? Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. The fact that happens, I think I discovered the other day when someone asked a similar question, is actually a gap in the documentation right now. Yeah, if you want to want to file an issue that's just like documentation is missing a note about back off, that would be awesome.
I can do that, but I didn't notice that there's a back off just purely based on, I was watching the logs of the controller manager, and it didn't look like the back off was happening. I mean, otherwise I'll be happy to submit a PR for the documentation change.
Yeah, it's an exponential back off, so you should get like a very short back off and then a long tail.
Okay. And does it limit the number of errors to some, would it stop retrying after some time, or this will just go on?
There's like a max back off, and so it'll continue at that max back off interval, but it's like it's large.
Okay, so I'll look for it, and if I find that back off is happening, I'll definitely file a PR with the documentation change.
Are we talking about reconciler errors? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, in case of errors, we'll put the request back on the reconciler. Yeah. Right?
So just from the SDK perspective and KubeBuilder perspective, we're both using controller runtime, and controller runtime is the library that's doing all of that back off. So you should see basically no difference between Operator SDK and KubeBuilder.
Okay. All right. So if I'm not finding that it's happening for whatever reason, I'll file an issue. But you're saying it should be there.
Yep.
It should be there, but you might want to file an issue about the documentation.
Sure. And I have one final question, again, based on my testing. What I see is that my reconciliation is successful and immediately another reconciliation request comes in for the same resource. And it happens almost all the time, 100% actually. So I couldn't find out why a reconciliation request is being issued. So is there any way to figure out why it's issued?
So this is actually like a good idea for another doc bug. So like thank you for bringing it up. Yeah. So well, there's actually two doc bugs in here, or two issues in here. The first is that there's not really a good way right now to find out why a reconciliation was triggered. We've had some talk of integrating tracing before into KubeBuilder, and or we could add better logs there. So that's like one issue that probably should be filed. So thank you for bringing that up. And the other one is I get another reconcile immediately after my first reconcile is a really good FAQ question. So that's usually caused by the fact that you actually submitted an update. And because you submitted an update, the API server goes, oh, something changed. You need to reconcile again. But because it's the update you submitted, you should be in steady state, right? So like,
Right.
You'll presumably get the reconcile request, see that you're in steady state, and nothing will happen. And depending on what you're changing, you may be able to use like the generation changed predicate to avoid this. But this is another really good case where like this is a frequently asked question, and we could definitely be clearer on this in the documentation, I think.
Okay, so maybe I'll submit an issue for that, and we can discuss more in that issue.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem. And I thought that was my last question, but can I ask one more? So I just have one more. So I'm implementing a webhook, and you know, in my custom resource, I'm referring to another of my resources by name. Is there a way, or what is the recommended way of making sure that the other resource does exist? I want to do it in validation webhook and fail the resource creation if the other resource doesn't exist.
For this one, I would encourage you to we should continue this discussion offline, because perhaps this is a little bit more of an extended explanation here, or we can revisit at the end of the meeting, because it looks like there's.
I can post in the news group if you want. I mean, I can post in the news group and
yeah, or post in an issue. That would be great.
Yeah, I'll do that. No problem. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right, I think we have a couple more other discussions. Looks like Joe and Maria both added one. So Joe and then Maria, just in the order they appear in the.
Sure. So Zap logging flags. So Hasib, I think, put together, and there was another PR before Hasib's that has some improvements for making the Zap logger more customizable from the calling perspective. This is in controller runtime, where now there's like variadic options, and it's easier to turn on and turn off different aspects of the logger. One thing that we've done in SDK, and this was kind of a while ago, and we don't have the exact same interface, but we have like a bind flags method on the logger that will basically enable an operator to call this and then have flags added to their binary that would make it easier to configure the logger from flags rather than just in code. So I'm curious if that's something you're interested in having us contribute in controller runtime, if you want us to update our stuff in operator SDK to make use of the new variadic flags and then demo that before we do it. I'm just curious kind of what your thought would be there.
I think having flag support would be, having helpers for flags, optional helpers for flags would be awesome. Just because that's the way most people do things right now. it would be great to eventually get to something like component config, but the reality is most people won't have flags at the moment. So yeah, and in that PR, if they should make use of the periodic options if possible, if it's not like super clunky to do so. And if it is, we can figure out something else. But yeah, it would be great to have those, I think.
Cool. All right, that's it there. Thanks.
Just a quick one from me, and mostly to start the conversation. I'm not looking for an ultimate like decision now, but I just wanted to see what people thought about bringing the integration testing framework into controller runtime.
I think we should probably do it. Controller runtime is the only significant. Actually,
I think it's the only.
It's the only consumer
that we know of.
that we can find on GitHub, on all of GitHub, of testing frameworks, and there's some stuff that we actually would like to do in the testing frameworks as well. I have a really hacky version of this PR posted as part of the work I did to add support for auth and the secure port to the end test framework. But if someone wanted to like separate that out and do a little code cleanup, or if you have ideas, I think one of the things we can do is we kind of have like 2 layers of indirection right now. So like ultimately, I think what we want to do is like first step, port integration testing framework into internal, the parts that we can into internal and the public stuff into public. And then like step 2 would be to like see if we can actually reduce the layers of indirection that we have. So we don't have like mtest wrapping high level integration framework, wrapping like the internals of integration framework. There's like 3 layers right now. I think we can collapse that to like 1 or 2 and make the code a lot more simple and make it easier for us to add cool stuff to the integration framework. Yeah, so that was a really long-winded way of saying I'm definitely on board.
Well, mainly I wanted to check, are there any big drawbacks or blockers you can think of that would make that a bad idea? But if not, we can, like Hannes and I could probably make a start.
I don't think there's any major drawbacks that I know of. If anybody else has any, bring them up now or add them, apologies, add them to the doc. But yeah, I don't think there's any major ones that I know of. I think the main thing that people had brought up before is that testing frameworks couldn't be vendored into KK, but I think that was mostly an aspirational goal and it hasn't practically materialized, so. All right. If nobody has anything else, I have one more thing for the end. So recently, we merged a official guidelines for kind of what in Kubernetes is referred to as the contributor ladder. So this is how to gain a more formal role in the KubeBuilder project in terms of officially being recognized as a kind of trusted reviewer or approver. And so I know there are a bunch of you that have been leaving really awesome reviews and are really knowledgeable about particular areas of KubeBuilder and controller runtime and controller tools. And so if you are at all interested in having a more formal role in things, I would highly encourage you to look at those. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly on Slack or submit a PR to add yourself as a reviewer in an owner's file or what have you. But definitely, please, I know there's there's a bunch of you who are super knowledgeable about certain things. So definitely, if you're interested, please speak up. All right. Does anyone have anything else? All right. If not, I think we will end the meeting for today. For those of you who will be at KubeCon next week, feel free to find me and stop by and say hi in person. And for those not at KubeCon, I'll see you all in a month.
Sounds good. See ya.
Thanks, Ollie.
See you, folks. Bye-bye.